Father in heaven, I pray you supply the words as I try to share what a great blessing it's been to know you. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. You know, I knew something was missing in my life. I was a teenager when I joined the Army. I knew something was missing, but I didn't know what it was. I couldn't figure out what I was looking for, but I knew something was empty. Now, when I was assigned to my post of duty, you know, this is where your long-term service is. When I got there, there was a man there, a young man, who had put up a calendar on the wall. And, you know, enlistments then were 3 years, 4 years, and he was marking down the days until he got out. You know, 1,112, 1,111, 1,110. And I thought to myself, man, this guy's crazy. It's going to take a long time to mark all those days off. And pretty soon I had my own calendar, marking off the days until I got freedom. Now, if you'd asked me back then, what is freedom? I would have said, well, freedom is to do what you want to do when you want to do it. No guidelines, no regulations, no discipline. That's what freedom is. I never would have said John 8:32, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. I didn't know what truth is. Pontius Pilate. I was about to say I didn't know what truth was, but you know, most people don't. And John 18:38, Pontius Pilate says to Jesus, what is truth? The truth was standing in front of him. John 14:6, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. The truth was standing in front of him, and he didn't even see it. Didn't recognize it when he saw it. And I'm afraid I was in the same kind of position. I didn't know what truth was, and if I'd seen it, I wouldn't have recognized it. So a lot of drinking in the Army. I remember early on, it's part of my first experience with gambling. You know, it was like a Friday night, people were drunk. We were gambling around a bed. Get the sheets, a wool blanket, I remember, pull nice and tight. This was the dice table. It's called shooting craps. You throw dice and you wager money that is based on the numbers that come up on the dice. And so I could, you know, I got my first night of really gambling. So I took $20, turned it into $100. It was easy. I got real excited. Take $100, you can turn it into $200. And then you can take $200, turn it into $400. Then take $400, turn it into nothing. I thought, this is not for me. Gambling does not pay. And that was I think my only night of gambling, maybe one other night, but I could see this had no future in it. But it was like fighting a war, but with dice. It's a war you couldn't win. And then you know, I read the Bible many, many years later. And I read Revelation 12:17, the dragon. Now the dragon, it's a symbol, it's a word. It tells you in Revelation 12:7, the dragon is the devil, right? The dragon, the devil was wroth with the woman, Ephesians 5:25. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. Christ and his wife, the church. So a woman, virtuous woman, is a symbol of a church. So the dragon, the devil, was wroth, angry with the church, and went to make war with her. I could see there was some kind of conflict. I wouldn't have called it a war back then. I could see there was a conflict, but didn't know how to break free. Didn't know anything about truth. You know, just kind of wandering in the maze of confusion. And I can remember I was coming back from Fort McClellan one time. Small group of us were being flown from Fort McClellan to southern Georgia, a place called Fort Stewart. We were on a Chinook. Now, a Chinook is one of those long, skinny helicopters, got a rotor on each end, you know, blades on each end of it. It's kind of a funny, looks like a hot dog. And it's on the Chinook. And so we got on. A lot of it was just cargo. I was sitting on top of some duffel bags and everything, strapped to the side of the wall in the helicopter. And as we got ready to leave, crew chief cautioned us, you know, make sure you're tied in, your seat belts are harnessed and everything. Then he looked at us. There were about maybe 5 or 6 of us on the helicopter. He looked at us and he said, listen to this sound. And he hit this button and a horn went off. He said, when you hear that, you know we're going down. And I can't quote exactly what he said, but he said, if you hear that horn, lean over, kiss your blankety blank goodbye. And that's what he said. And then when he finished, I went to sleep. About halfway across southern Georgia, I was dead fast asleep, and that buzzer, when that horn went off, I woke up, and dear friends, I knew I was in a lost condition. I thought I was going to die. I thought, I woke up, the impending doom of the whole thing just overwhelmed me, and I thought, I'm just. Looked over at the crew chief. He was sitting there smiling. He made a joke of the whole thing. He was having a good time as I was about to have a heart attack. Lost in a Chinook over South Georgia. And if that had been my last breath, I would have died with just confusion in my mind. And then after a few months, went down to the Jungle Operations Training Center, JOTC, in Panama. Our company, our battalion was going through the jungle exercises, training down there. And one of the exercises was a compass course. And what they do, they give you a map, and it maybe charts out 7 or 8, 9 points on the map, and it gives you directions, azimuth. It gives a direction to each one. Then you take your compass and you go through the jungle and you go to point A, and then you get to point A and you write down what you find there. Then you go to point B, you write down what you find there. This is the compass course, and at the end of the day, you're at the last one, and you've successfully learned how to navigate your way through the jungle using a compass and a map. Well, a little problem, because they sent out 2 by 2. I was with a guy with a real country accent. I've got one myself, but this guy had a real country accent. His name was Bill. Nice guy. And so we were making good headway, point 1, point 2, point 3, and somewhere in there, I can't remember who it was, one of us broke the compass. It might have been me. Fell down, hit a rock, and just broke the thing, just cracked it right into the face of it. Couldn't use it. I looked at Bill, Bill looked at me. I felt lost, that lost feeling again. I had it in that helicopter, and I had it again in the jungle. Just felt like I was lost in more ways than one, and had no compass to get home. And so what Bill and I did, we wandered around a little bit in the jungle. And then as nightfall was coming, you hear a lot of animals out there. And I was concerned. So we started a fire, and all night long in that jungle, sat there, and I listened to the night sounds and the different animals around us, and just fed wood to the fire. And it was an interesting night to meditate upon just how lost I was. Next morning, sun came up, and I think it took us most of the day to find our way back. And finally, at the end of the day, we got back. Everybody said, "Well, what happened to you?" I said, "No compass, no way to get home." Now, not long ago, did meetings up in the Arctic Circle a few years ago. And the Arctic, where I was, it's just no trees, no greenery, it's just gray rock, permafrost. You don't have any trees, it's just barren, rocky, snowy, icy, and no way to get out except by plane, or when the ice is not frozen, you can get out by boat. Now, the way they would keep from getting lost, they had this thing called an inukshuk. I hope I pronounced it correctly. It's like a little, I'll show you a picture of it. It's like a little pointer pointing toward home, and they would set these along the way. It was the road back. The Lord has done the same for us. He has set us landmarks along the way, pointing to the long road home. And it is a long road. But my dear friends, if you don't start, you'll never finish. So in the Army, I got some kind of indication, at least, that I was confused, longing for something I did not have, just a miserable human being. You know, the Lord helped me back then too. Now this will sound crazy to most people, but you got to keep in mind, I was eating in a chow hall. You know, this is what they fed, the typical breakfast of a soldier. I'd go in the morning, and first station was like the omelet station. And you placed your order. I said, well, I'll have a Western omelet. That's what I had a lot. I'll have a Western omelet. The cook would take 4 pats of butter. He'd put the butter down, and then he would take 4 eggs, crack it on top of the butter. And then the Western omelet had, I think it had ham and cheese and mushrooms and bell peppers and tomatoes and maybe olives. And he put all that in the omelet, roll it up, put it down on your plate. And that's what I was having for breakfast. It was very strange to me when I sat in a dentist office. I think I was sitting in a dentist office, and there was a magazine. I picked it up and I read about the dangers of eating butter. And I stopped eating butter. Can you believe that? Here I was, a drunkard, eating anything that would crawl across my plate, ate monkeys and snakes in the canal, and I stopped eating butter. But I see that was a change. Now, for the last almost 3 decades, I've been working in health ministry. And when somebody comes into the health program and they make a change, what I always say is, that's progress. So I guess, as heaven viewed this sinner named Lou Keith, they saw a bit of progress because they gave up butter. And I didn't give up anything else. But now I was a butter-free drunk. And that was some of the experiences, I had in the Army. I was learning a lot of things. I was learning to see my great need. I had not yet learned about God's ability to take care of me and help me and keep me. But I was learning at least that I had a need. And when I got out of the Army, I was butter-free. God bless you, my friends. You have a nice day.